I'm not sure where to begin. Maybe with the moment I saw an old salt and pepper dog snoozing in the corner of a loud animal shelter, and the thought that popped into my head was yep. That's him. That's my new boyfriend. Now don't judge me yet. Let me give you some context because this story, like any good tragedy, needs a proper setup. Exactly 2 months ago, my boyfriend my boyfriend of 3 years, the man who'd sworn he'd never go to sleep angry, the one who knew my exact boba tea order down to the 70% sugar and light ice, looked at me on a Tuesday night just like any other and said, I think I need a break. I was peeling an apple over the sink, the spiral of red skin falling in a perfect curl. The knife stopped midair. A break. The word felt foreign in my mouth, like a piece of food I didn't recognize. Yeah, like a pause. Just for a little while, he said, avoiding my eyes and staring intently at an invisible crack in the ceiling. He had this way of making his most devastating announcements sound like corporate memos. I feel a little lost. I need to go back to Washington for a few weeks, stay with my family, realign my thoughts, get some clarity, recalibrate my future. I hope you can respect that. Recalibrate. The word hung in the air between us, cold and clinical. Just last week we were calibrated just fine, curled up on the couch, his arm around me, arguing over whether the hero in our favorite show was an idiot or just tragically misunderstood. Now, our entire 3-year relationship was apparently a machine in need of servicing. I tried to be the understanding, supportive girlfriend you see in movies, the cool girl. I put the knife down carefully on the counter, my hand suddenly unsteady. I nodded slowly and asked a question I thought was perfectly reasonable, a simple logistical query. So while you're on pause, am I still allowed to call you my boyfriend? Nam went silent. It was a long, heavy silence, the kind that sucks all the air out of a room. It was long enough for me to replay the last 3 years in my head. Our first date, the time he brought me soup when I had the flu, the stupid fight we had over a piece of IKEA furniture. Finally, he just picked up his pre-packed suitcase from beside the door. A detail I hadn't even noticed until then. Gave me a light, sterile kiss on the forehead and said, I'll be in touch. He never answered my question. That should have been the first, last, and only red flag I needed. As the door clicked shut behind him, the silence he left behind was louder than any argument we'd ever had. The apartment didn't just feel empty, it felt hollowed out. After he left, I did what any person in a vaguely defined relationship limbo would do. I clung to my phone like it was a life raft. Day 1 *, hey, did you land okay? Hope you got home safe. Tell your mom I said hi. *, I hit send, my heart thumping with a nervous hope. Read. The little blue check marks appeared, but no 3 dots indicating a reply. No answer. He's probably tired, I told myself, refreshing the screen every 5 minutes. *, it's a long flight. He's probably catching up with his family. Day 3 *, have you been eating? I just rewatched the finale of that show we were watching, and it made me miss you. *, I even added a sad kitten sticker. A digital plea for a sign of life. Read. Again, nothing. I started to feel a cold dread creep into my chest. He wasn't just busy. This was deliberate. This was a choice. A week went by. My phone remained silent. I started spiraling. I'd stalk his social media. A modern form of self-torture. No new posts, but the little green dot next to his name on Messenger would light up, a tiny mocking beacon. He was there, online, existing in the digital world, scrolling through memes, talking to someone, just not to me. Each time I saw it, it felt like a tiny paper cut on my heart. I finally broke down and called my best friend, Liz. He's ignoring me. I whispered into the phone, huddled on my couch. Ignoring you? Honey, that's an understatement. Liz's voice crackled through the speaker, sharp and clear. Let me rephrase for you. The man you have spent 3 years of your life with has decided to communicate with you, using the power of the void. What do you think is going on? I don't know. Maybe he's really going through something. Oh, he's going through something, all right. He's going through the process of turning into a ghost. He didn't just ghost you. He's achieved a gaseous state. He's evaporated, turned into thin air. It's ghosting, you idiot, but on a cosmic, pretentious level. Her bluntness was both painful and necessary. Still, a stubborn part of me held out hope. In the second week, after 3 failed calls that went straight to voicemail, I decided to leave a message. I rehearsed it in my head a dozen times, trying to sound calm and not at all like the frantic, heartbroken mess I was. "Nam," I began, my voice steadier than I expected. "It's me. Listen, I've been thinking. If you've decided to break up with me, I get it. I'll be fine. I just need some clarity. That's all I'm asking for. Just a word." I hung up, my hand shaking. I had laid my vulnerability bare, sent it out into the ether, hoping for a shred of human decency in return. And I got nothing. Not even the dignity of a 2-word text message. 6 weeks. 42 days. Over 1,000 hours of silence. The initial sadness slowly morphed into a hot, simmering anger, and then finally hardened into a dull, numb emptiness. I had cried enough tears to fill a small pond. I had listened to my entire K-pop breakup ballad playlist on repeat. I had eaten a family-sized tub of Ben & Jerry's in one sitting, while watching Bridget Jones's Diary. Then one Sunday morning, as I was staring at my reflection in the dark screen of my phone, I realized I couldn't live in this suspended state forever. My life wasn't a TV show he could pause. I was a person, not a streaming service. It was time to take the remote back. "You need a new hobby," Liz declared, dragging me out of the apartment for brunch. "Something to occupy your hands and your mind. Take up the ukulele. Learn to paint. Or knitting. Winter is coming, you could make a rage scarf." I shook my head, swirling the ice in my water. Those things were too quiet, too internal. I needed something different. A statement. An act of reclaiming my space and my life. And then it hit me. A gloriously, deliciously defiant idea. Nam was horrifically allergic to animal fur. I'm not talking a few sniffles. I mean full-on, watery-eyed, can't breathe, sneezing fit for an hour allergic. He once had to leave a party early because the host's cat brushed against his leg. "I'm going to adopt a dog," I said, looking Liz straight in the eye. She paused, a forkful of pancake halfway to her mouth. A slow grin spread across her face. "Are you serious? That's not just a hobby. That's a power move. A legendary act of passive aggression. I love it." I didn't see it as aggression. I saw it as liberation. He had unilaterally removed himself from my life. I was now unilaterally adding a new, better, furrier life form to it. I went to the local animal shelter that Saturday afternoon. The place was a symphony of chaos. A cacophony of high-pitched barks and mournful howls, the frantic scratching of claws on kennel doors, and the overwhelming smell of disinfectant and animal life. Hyperactive puppies, all fluff and energy, bounced around like furry tennis balls, yipping and tumbling over each other, all vying for my attention. And then in a quiet corner I saw him, a 4-legged old gentleman, lying perfectly still on a worn-out blanket. He had his chin resting on his paws, his salt and pepper fur was a bit scruffy, and his amber-colored eyes were half-closed, like a Zen master who had seen it all and was thoroughly unimpressed. He didn't bark, he didn't wag his tail. He just let out a soft, world-weary sigh. He was an island of calm in a sea of frantic energy. He was an old soul in a fur coat. I crouched down next to his kennel. He slowly lifted his head, looked at me with an unnerving intelligence, and then ambled over. He didn't jump or whine. He just rested his heavy head on my thigh through the bars as if to say, asterisk, "Took you long enough." Asterisk. That was it. I took him home. I named him Gus. My life changed overnight. Gus wasn't demanding. He didn't run around the apartment or chew my shoes. He mostly snoozed on the rug by my desk while I worked. His gentle snores a comforting counterpoint to the clicking of my keyboard. Or he'd occupy the other end of the couch, a warm, breathing presence while I watched movies. One night I found myself crying quietly over some stupid memory of Nam. Gus must have sensed it. He got up from his bed, walked over, and simply rested his head on my lap until my tears subsided. He didn't try to fix it. He just stayed. Our walks were slow, meandering affairs. Gus's pace forced me to slow down, to notice the way the afternoon light filtered through the leaves, the shapes of the clouds, the kids playing in the park. For the first time in years, I was actually living in the moment, not just rushing through it. The apartment wasn't empty anymore. It now had a quiet, warm, and hairy soul. It was a home again. My home. And then, just as I was truly settling into my new peaceful reality, it happened. 6 weeks to the day since Nam vanished. 6 weeks without a text, a call, or even a carrier pigeon. Ping! A message lit up my phone screen from a name I had mentally moved to the archive folder of my brain. Asterisk, I'm back. I'll swing by your place tomorrow to talk. Asterisk. I read it 3 times, my heart doing a weird lurch that was 1 part anxiety, 9 parts disbelief. It had to be a mistake. Maybe his mom was using his phone. I replied cautiously, my thumbs hovering over the keyboard. Asterisk, excuse me. Asterisk. The reply was almost instant. The 3 little dots danced mockingly. Asterisk. I'm ready to unpause our relationship. Asterisk. Unpause. Unpause? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I was not aware that a term from a 1990s VCR could be applied to human emotions. If there were a dictionary for the most ridiculous, self-absorbed things people say, this would be the cover photo. The sheer audacity of it left me speechless. He didn't ask. He announced. My confusion quickly gave way to a simmering righteous rage. I texted back, asterisk, what relationship? Asterisk. This time he didn't reply. He just left my question hanging there. A testament to his unwavering commitment to non-communication. The next evening at 7 p.m. sharp, my doorbell rang. I took a deep, steadying breath, glanced at Gus, who was sleeping soundly on the sofa, and went to open it. There stood Nam. He looked radiant, tanned even, like he'd just returned from a high-end meditation retreat in Bali, not his parents' basement in Washington. He was wearing a crisp white shirt, a confident, enlightened smile plastered on his face, looking like a man who had discovered both himself and the secrets of the universe. Hey, he began, his voice warm and syrupy as if no time had passed at all. I've done so much thinking. That journey was so necessary for my growth. I've clarified my mindset, reshaped my future path, and I had this profound realization. All roads lead back to you. I want us to start over. For real. I'm ready to be the partner you deserve. Maybe we could even start looking for a new place together. He delivered the whole monologue without taking a breath, a perfectly rehearsed speech of self-congratulatory nonsense. I was just about to open my mouth to unleash the 6 weeks of fury I had stored up when a soft woof came from the living room. Gus, my sweet, loyal Gus, had woken up and was trotting to the door to see who the visitor was. Nam's eyes widened. The enlightened smile on his face froze, then cracked. What is that? His voice shot up an octave, piercing the calm evening air. This is Gus, I said, my voice surprisingly level. He's my dog. It's okay, he's very chill. I'm allergic. You know I'm deathly allergic. He practically screamed, as if I had just unveiled a python. Why would you do this? What is this, some kind of sick, petty revenge? Revenge? I let out a dry, humorless laugh. No, Nam. This is my life. You broke up with me. I never broke up with you. I said I was taking a pause. He yelled, his face turning red. You ghosted me for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. I texted you, I called you. I literally begged you for a single word just to know if we were over, and you chose silence. Me and my friends all figured you'd evaporated off the face of the planet. I needed space. A healthy relationship is about respecting each other's personal space, he argued, his nose starting to twitch violently. This was about my journey, my truth. You couldn't hold space for me for a few weeks. There's a difference between space and a cosmic black hole, Nam. Space is a two-way street. It requires communication, not a disappearing act. You didn't ask for space. You demanded my submission to your silence. You gave me cowardly negligence, not a pause. Asterisk, a chew. Asterisk, the first sneeze was explosive. I have to go, he said, taking a step back and pinching the bridge of his nose as his eyes started to water. I'm having a serious allergic reaction. He hadn't even set 1 foot inside my apartment. I stood in the doorway and watched Nam's retreating back as he fled down the hallway, a symphony of frantic sneezes echoing behind him. The elevator doors slid shut, severing his presence from my life as cleanly as a guillotine. I closed my own door. I turned the deadbolt. Click. The sound was final. The apartment was quiet again. But this was a different kind of quiet. It wasn't the lonely, cavernous silence he had left behind 6 weeks ago. It was a peaceful silence, one that was owned and occupied by me and the gentle snores coming from the couch. It was the sound of home. I turned around and saw Gus, who had already settled back onto the sofa, his head propped on the armrest, his gentle eyes watching me as if to ask, is the drama over? I let out a long shuddering sigh. It was a sigh of relief, of exhaustion, of finality. Half of me wanted to cry for the 3 wasted years of my youth. The other half wanted to burst out laughing at the sheer, unadulterated absurdity of it all. My phone buzzed. It was Liz. So? Did Mr. Unpause make his grand return? Or did he sneeze his way back to his home planet? I smiled for the first time that night, a real genuine smile. I texted back, he's a walking remote control. But the batteries are dead. I sank to the floor, leaning my back against the sofa. Gus grunted softly and, with the effort of an old man, hopped down and rested his heavy, comforting head on my shoulder. His fur was soft. He smelled like a warm, loyal living creature. He smelled like unconditional love. I thought if I texted Nam right now and said, "We're over," it would be like admitting the relationship was still a real, tangible thing up until this very moment. It would be validating his ridiculous premise, acknowledging that I had been on pause all along. It would be like admitting that I had cheated on his imaginary state of limbo by daring to find happiness in a furry creature who knew how to be present. No, I wouldn't give him that power. He didn't get to be the one who was broken up with. The relationship hadn't ended tonight. It had died a slow death from neglect 6 weeks ago. I was just attending the funeral. Am I the bad guy in this story? Maybe in his version, the one he'll tell his friends. I'm the impulsive, cruel girlfriend who couldn't wait. But in my version, my truth, I just learned a vital lesson. You can't pause someone else's life to suit your own. You can only press play on your own. And this time, I was moving forward with a 4-legged companion. Slow, steady, and incredibly sure-footed. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel lost at all.